Hey guys, I'm just going to interrupt the intro here to say, at this point, you probably heard shit has hit the fan here in Edmonton. Our main event that we had scheduled for today, well, not that we had scheduled, that the UFC had scheduled between Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson and Ray Borg, is no longer happening. As I sit here, I'm getting ready to edit the show. Young Mike Bohn's in the background freaking out. No! You see what I'm saying? Shit's just going wrong. But hey, we only lingered a little bit on the show, so I'm not going to fucking make us redo this whole thing. So I just want to preface it. So as you're watching, or as you're listening, to this show, and you still hear us talk about it, hey, we recorded before this happened, and hey, shit happened. So I know we're bummed as much as you guys are, but hey, the show must go on. And so here you go. Here is the show as taped before shit hit the fan.
Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 128. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee, well, he's not with me right now. I am home in Las Vegas. Meanwhile, Cold Coffee is up north in the great city of Edmonton, getting ready for UFC 215 up there with the young Mike Bohn. They're getting their business handled up there as we get ready for Demetrious Johnson versus Ray Borg, Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko, and we'll get into all that in just a minute. I am home in Las Vegas, actually in my home right now, staring out the window at just thunderstorms coming down, man. You talk about the weather changing. Good Lord, with everything that's going on. You know, we get this. We get the monsoons out here, but it's, man, on top of everything that's happening around the world right now, or I guess around the United States with all the weather, it's kind of crazy to see thunderstorms just pouring down right now. So, listen, man, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a tough week for me overall. You know, we keeps it real on the MMA Roadshow. That's how we do. It's been a tough one for me personally, and I'll share a little bit more on that later. I kind of touched on at the end, and big shout out to everybody that kind of reached out to me on social media directly. Was asking for some good thoughts last week, and really appreciate everybody that reached out to me. So, been kind of a tough one for me, not gonna lie. And then it got even worse today because my 5-year-old son pushed somebody at school. At recess, kindergarten, just 3 weeks in or so at this point, and he pushed somebody. And he didn't even push anybody that was like a bully. He pushed somebody that's his buddy, like his friend. It's his boy. They hang out. He talks to him every day. I see it. And he pushed him. And he can't tell me why. I think he was just roughhousing. I think he was just playing around. Bugs me because he's training at Extreme Couture, and of course, you know, he comes into my office all the time, and you know, I've got fights and pictures of fights and videos of fights, and hell, that's all I got going, and he sees it all the time. Of course, he wants to bond with his dad, so we'll sit there and watch a little bit of it, but yeah, man, I try to keep the good example, let him know, man, it's just you only punch somebody if you're in a cage and you're getting paid for it, but I don't know, roughhousing a little bit and getting himself in trouble. So just complicating my situation. It's a rough day. I need to be at Boomers for Thirsty Thursday. That's the problem right there. Just drink all my sorrows away. But I felt bad going by myself. I felt a little weird going by myself, and probably should have reached out and gotten a co-host, but like I said, it's been a little rough for me, so stayed at home and just doing the damn thing from here, but still got some interesting people to talk to. A little bit of audio collected that hopefully you guys will like, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. You don't got to sit here and listen to me talk by myself for too long. Listen, have you seen the new logo, by the way? Have you seen the new MMA Roadshow logo? Hope you have. Hope you like it. We didn't even know it was coming. This is part of, just so you know, the USA Today Sports family is kind of building a podcast network, basically. I think Audio Boom is the place that they're doing the main hosting, but it's still going to feed out to iTunes and to Stitcher and to places like that. So wherever you're used to listen, you can still listen. It doesn't have to change anything. But it's funny because they designed a new a logo for the MMA Roadshow. It's kind of, a little interstate sign there. It's got the MMA Junkie logo on it. It looks good. I think they decided that the artwork that we borrowed for the last 2.5 years, shall we say, the you know what artwork we borrowed. I think they decided that probably wasn't best for the corporation. Now that they're trying to welcome us in under the USA Today Sports umbrella, so they redesigned it, but it looked good. I mean, it's kind of weird because nobody hit us up and asked us what we thought about it, or if we were good with it, or if we approved it, or anything like that. It just happened. You know how corporations work. Boss just tells you your orders, and now that's our logo. But nah, it looks good, and we appreciate it. It's sharp, crisp, clean, conveys the message. So there's that brand new MMA Roadshow logo, and you probably, depending on the platform you heard, but it should be on most platforms, you probably heard a little commercial as the thing got started, and that's part of the new format as well, I guess. So we don't handle that, so we don't have any control over the sponsors that are there. So this is not us signing off on anything or putting our personal brand on it. To be honest with you, this is just USA Today selling our brand for us. But hopefully that means a little money in our pocket at some point down the road as well. We'll see. We don't really do it for money. We've been doing it for way too long for free. We basically do it for the frosty beverages that you kind souls buy us when we're out there on the road and we get a chance to run in and hang out with people. So we just do it because we love talking MMA. But hey, if the company's going to help throw a couple extra bucks in the back pocket, I certainly won't be complaining. So that's what that's all about, if you were wondering what the hell that's going on. Listen, UFC Fight Night 115 was this past weekend. We did not do we did not do and a half. I kind of wanted to be honest with you, man. The card was so fun. If you didn't watch UFC Fight Night 115, go back and catch at least some of the highlights, man. It was a lot of fun to watch. But I'll be honest with you, man. The traffic on the website was bad. I mean, of course, it's not. We're coming off the hype of Mayweather versus McGregor. Everything's going to seem small in comparison. But yeah, just the social media action we were seeing, the website traffic, it just wasn't huge. So I was like, wow, I was actually with Cold Coffee watching the card, and I was like, man, should we break out the headphones and put together a little and a half, or should we just enjoy the early evening? And we ended up just deciding to enjoy the early evening based on essentially what seemed like really, really low public interest in the fight. So damn shame. So I'm guessing a lot of people didn't probably catch the whole card, and it should be archived. It was all on UFC Fight Pass, so it's all there. You can go back and watch all of it if you have a subscription. But at the very least, go back and check out some of the highlights. Abdul Karim Medilov looked like an absolute monster in his UFC debut. Now, I think he had a pretty favorable matchup in Bojan Mihajlovic, but still, Abdul Karim Medilov looked fantastic. Now, Abdul Karim Medilov, a little bit controversial, certainly a guy that has ties to Ramzan Kadyrov, the Chechen dictator / warlord, if you will. I've had some interesting conversations behind the scenes, though. It's tough. We talked about this a little bit before. Kareem Zidane has obviously done some fantastic pieces. The HBO Real Sports piece was really good as well, and just exposing some crazy stuff that's going on there. But I still really don't know how we're supposed to treat these athletes. What the association is supposed to mean. Abdul Karim Medilov has even closer ties in the fact that he's employed by Kadyrov in his spare time, I guess. But, I've had some conversations with people behind the scenes that are like, listen, just because these guys are associated with Kadyrov, don't think that means that, it's 100% approval of everything that he does. It's just that you don't really get an option. When you're associated with this guy who's a dictator / warlord, you just associated with that guy, and you don't get a whole lot to say about it. So it's not like Abdul Karim Medilov is going to come out and admonish him, Kadyrov, in the media. It's not like he's going to talk bad about him. And that goes for anybody that's associated with the team. So I'm still really just confused. I mean, man, the things that this man has been accused of, purging homosexuals and just, kind of hate crimes and that sort of stuff. Of course. I mean, what human being would sign off on that? What person would say that's okay? But I still don't know exactly what we're supposed to do with these athletes. I mean, are we supposed to tell the UFC don't sign these guys because of their association? Because that kind of sucks. I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to do. It's a bit weird to me. After that, it was Zabit Magomedsharipov defeating Mike Santiago. If you have not seen this fight, my goodness, stop what you're doing. Well, no, don't stop what you're doing. Keep listening. I don't want you to not come back. Just keep listening, but write down a little note to yourself. Zabit Magomedsharipov, you got to watch this kid. Oh, my God, what a fantastic performance. Second round submission of Mike Santiago, but my God, did this guy show incredible potential. Of course, the guys up there in Jersey have been high on this guy for a while, talking about it, but, oh, man, did he deliver in his UFC debut. This guy is worth watching and keeping an eye on. A name to remember for sure. Go watch this fight if you didn't see it. You're going to see insane skills and just insane level of confidence and just comfort in there. It was amazing. Mairbek Taisimov. How long have we been telling you about Mairbek Taisimov? If you're a Roadshow listener, you know. You've heard some Mairbek Taisimov. You've seen some interviews that we've had for him. He's had some injuries that have slowed him down. Certainly, he has had some issues that have really some visa issues that cause some concerns, and then of course he does observe Ramadan every year, so that kind of takes him out of summer fights, a la Khabib Nurmagomedov. So basically, he's had scheduling issues and injury issues and all kinds of other stuff, but the dude is the real deal, and he absolutely starched Felipe Silva. Certainly worth watching that fight if you didn't. Darren Till picked up a unanimous decision win over Bojan Velikovic. Fun fight. Darren Till, you've seen the news now. It looks like he's fighting Cowboy Cerrone in the headline event of UFC Fight Night 118 in Gdansk, Poland. But this guy is fun to watch. You're going to need to get yourself ready for that Cowboy Cerrone fight anyway, right? So go watch this one, man. It's a 15-minute fight, but Bojan was in there to bang as well. Of course, Bojan, a Roadshow favorite as well. But, these guys went in and put on a show. But Darren Till, man, it was just a cut above. And the confidence that he has, man, it was impressive. To be honest with you, I thought the prelims were as good as anything on the main card. Fun fights. At least go watch those fights. If nothing else, go watch Abdul Karim Medvedev, Zabit Magomedsharipov, Mairbek Taisimov, and Darren Till. Go watch those 4 fights at the very least. And I thought they were a lot of fun, man. And these are the fights I love. I love finding these guys, man. I know at the end of the day, writing stories about these guys doesn't get clicks. I know that our bosses at USA Today, they want us to write another Conor story every day, a John Jones story every day, whatever we can, the biggest stars. But man, I love finding these gems, and to me, that's why I love watching these Fight Pass cards. And I know people have other stuff to do, but there's some diamonds in the rough, man. These guys definitely need to be watched. And then, of course, the main event. Take nothing away from Marion Renault. That was a gutsy performance over Toledo Oliveira. Sierra Barzazada had a big comeback win. Pressed the pace against Rob Wilkinson. He looked great. Leon Edwards, hard-fought win over Brian Barberine. Of course, Alexander Volkov, the TKO win over Stefan Struve. Alexander Volkov trying to get himself into some big-name fights. So, anyway, UFC Fight Night 115 was good. But it just didn't seem like people were watching, so we did not do the and a half, and of course you add in the fact that we weren't even there. So I mean, yeah, we could get you some audio from our man Abby Saban on the ground, but we just figured we'd push it, let everybody take a little break as they catch up from Mayweather McGregor, and not gonna lie, I was having a shitty week too, so that kind of played into all of it. So anyway, all right, with that in the rear view mirror, let me say. As bad as I think I have it right now, I know some people have it worse. We talked last week about the folks in Houston that were dealing with all the issues there, and now it looks like it's Florida's turn. They're bracing for a huge hurricane to hit this weekend that looks like it could be every bit as bad as what happened in Houston. Scary times, man. Very, very scary times. So I thought it was a good time to maybe reach down to the Florida people, and the guy that made sense was Niko Price. I like Niko Price. He's quickly becoming one of my favorites. The guy has a personality and a half. He's certainly entertaining to watch. And as it turns out, he's actually, battening down the hatches, so to speak. He's going to try to ride out this hurricane. He's in Cape Coral, Florida, which is actually on the Pacific side. And as you'll hear, originally it looked like they were going to be safe. Now the updated, I'm talking about, I was reading as the minute stuff before I sat down to record, shows that it could very well be in for a direct hit. So thought I'd speak to Niko about kind of what his plans were, what the decision was, how he went about it, and then just get caught up on his career. Find out how things are going, man. Things have been good for him in his UFC career so far, coming off that incredible win over Alan Joban, and just thought, hey, let's check in with our man Niko Price.
Hello?
Niko.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. Just hanging out, watching the rain right now.
I was gonna ask, man. Well, let's just start right there, brother. I mean, where are you? You're on the Gulf side, right? So I mean, where are you exactly, and how bad is it supposed to be where you are?
Well, right now it's supposed to come up the East Coast, which is on the complete other side of the state from us, and it actually just veered left, so it's going to come directly straight over us. So, like, you go to Miami, not Miami, where would I be directly? Crossroads. We're just right on the other side of the state from Miami, pretty much, Cape Coral, Florida, little town.
So yeah, cool. I kind of looked at it. It looked like you guys were safe. I was reading about it right before we talked, and like you said, the new one shows that it looks like it might go right over you guys. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. Does that kind of change your plans a little bit? When I talked to you today, you were going to try to ride it out. Does that change anything?
Oh hell no! Let's go. I'm boarding up a couple windows, and then I'm parking my van in my car and right in front of the spots I want protected on my house, and then we're gonna just press. See what happens.
Have you gone through anything like this before?
Oh yeah, I was in Florida my whole life, man. The only one I didn't, I think I was too young for, was Andrew. Everything after that, I was there. Yeah, I'm used to it.
This one looks like it's supposed to be pretty big, though, man. I mean, did you talk about it? Because you have a wife and kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys talk about
it? 3
kids?
Yeah, we did. It was actually like a 2-day debate whether to go out to Georgia or North Carolina, But then at the end, we just decided to bunker down, man, and pray that we're all good and safe.
No. So who won? I mean, were you trying to leave? Or you trying to stay? Or what was the final decision?
I wasn't leaving. I was going to be here regardless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got a bunch of family here. So. And so does she. So that's why I really, got to be with our family, just in case they need something. And I got a John boat, man. I can float my kids in the John boat down the street and swim. If any of the vehicles don't work.
So you just kind of want to be there to help out the family if anything goes wrong. Is that kind of your thought process?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Of course.
Makes sense, man. So, all right. So, what steps did you have to take? So, walk me through. You said you had to go buy some lumber and board up the windows. What all did you have to do today?
Yep. Exactly what I was doing. I was trying to set up so I can get some wood. Out here, it's really hard to get wood right now because of all this. Everyone here at Home Depot, Lowe's, they're buying all the wood up. By 12 o'clock, everyone's out of wood, and they don't get another shipment until 3.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah, and water. People are buying up all the water. Anything for, survival is gone. The rest of the... Yeah. Everyone gets so crazy. It's man, it's a storm. We're going to live, yeah, this year gets bad, but use your common sense. I'm pretty sure you can make it through it.
Well, hopefully so, man. Hopefully it'll make another turn and miss you guys entirely. Who knows?
Yeah, it goes right back into the land. Get away.
Just a hard right turn, and you turn back in the ocean.
Yes. And then just fade away into the mist.
That's great. Well, I guess what this week while this is going on, I imagine the gym's probably shut down. I mean, is anybody? I mean, are you training at all, or is everybody kind of just ducking out to take care of business?
But right now it's here and there. Some people come in, and then some people aren't. Pretty much none of the older people are at the gym. Until I'm trying to take care of everything and get everything set up. It's mostly the kids and stuff. They're like the youngins, you know?
Yep.
Teenagers to mid-20s. They're like, yeah, I don't have much to worry about. I'm going to go to the gym. You know?
Understandable, man. Well, before all this excitement was going on, talk to me about your life, Niko. What are things like for you these days, man? You got 3 wins in the UFC. Everything's going good, man. What's life like for you on a daily basis?
It's cool, man. I get noticed a lot more now since I knocked out Joe Bain. A lot more. Like, he had a big fan base because all his fans say hi to me now. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
It really is. Like, but it's cool, man. Like, I don't know. I'm still Niko, you know. I'm still the same old guy. I still do my same rituals. I go and work out in the morning, come home, try to hang out with the kids for a little bit, take a nap, go back at night, you know. Same thing. You know, not really much to change. I'm looking towards getting a car, though. A nice van for my wife, finally.
Nice.
That's cool. So.
Very nice. So you got 3 kids at home, right? How old are they?
5, 4, and 2. And then I have another one on the way in the cooker.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm trying to tell the UFC I'm open for November 4th, man. St. Pierre's the reason I got into this sport. That would be really cool to fight on the same card as him. You know, I'm ready. I get to camp right now. Give me an opponent. I'm ready for November 4th.
That's the card you want. Have you started talking to anybody? Maybe have they given you any ideas? Hey, maybe this could happen. Maybe it won't.
Well, I was talking to my manager, and he said that one sounds good, and I was like, sweet, well, let's do it. You know, let's get going. So he's been talking too, and I think it's the best for me because my baby comes in December, and that's like a good amount of time before, but not too far before. You know, it'll be a good cushion for a little bit until the end of the year, maybe, you know, or early January, then fight again, or wherever. I'll fight the next week if they want, as long as I'm healthy. You know what I'm saying?
You got it down by now, I guess.
Yeah. I know I can't wait like 4 days. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Well,
it's not really the best thing for you, but, you know.
But you can do it. Well,
sometimes you got to do it.
So you get noticed, what, just like around town and stuff? People kind of like holler at you at the grocery store or whatever, things like that?
Yeah. I was at Walmart today, and this dude's like, you're that local guy who knocked out that other guy on TV. And I was like, Niko. He's like, yeah, Niko Price. I was like, yeah, that's me. It was really, the first couple times, man, it's really weird. Like, it's awkward. It's like, yeah, that's me, man. Like, you don't know what to say because you don't want to sound like a jerk and be like, yeah, it's me, bro. What's up? You know, you can't talk like that. You know, then people are going to be like, wow, this is a jerk. So, I just try to be like, yeah, that's me, you know, like, thank you so much for noticing, you know, that's all I try to do.
That's awesome.
It's really cool, though.
What do the kids think about it? Have they been around you when somebody notices you? Are they kind of like, whoa, my dad is somebody?
Yeah, my daughter is pretty funny. Some random dude comes up and he's like, you know, you're cool, man. I love you fight. I'm always going to watch you fight. And I'm like, thank you so much, sir. And my daughter goes, Dad, do you know him? And I was like, no, baby. I was like, but he's a kind guy. And she goes, why did he say hi to you? Like, she was so baffled. Some random person came up and talked to Daddy. She didn't really realize it yet. Like, what I do is, like, stuff, you know. She knows I fight. Don't get that wrong. She knows I go in there and I fight people. And she understands, like, fighting is pain. And she understands, like, that part. But she doesn't understand, like being noticed, like, celebrity. I don't even want to say celebrity because I ain't a celebrity. I'm just a fighter. You know, but being noticed from on TV, she doesn't understand that part yet, you know?
All right, so I got to ask you, I got to ask your advice, father to father. My son just hit a kid at school today, and I know it's because he knows all I do is go watch fights. He comes into my office all the time and sees me watching fights. He's 5. He's 5 years old. He's in kindergarten. How do you keep your kids from hitting other kids, man? Knowing that that's what their dad does for a living.
Okay, so I have some questions for you to your 5-year-old. Did anyone touch him first?
Apparently no.
Here's the question. No? So he just lost his temper?
I don't know. He said he doesn't. It literally just happened a few minutes ago, and he said, I don't know. I think he was just trying to show off or something. It was one of his friends.
If you're just, if it's a friend, then stop horsing around, you little punk. You know, like, you get a little like, hey, you know, straighten up before I get real with you.
As soon as I get off the phone, that's what I gotta go do. I gotta go handle this. So I think you got the right approach.
Just pin him against the wall and be like, look, I know what you did. You know,
put the fear. I gotta put the fear of God in.
Yeah, dude, that's what all it is. That's all it is. You stare at him like you're, and they're like, oh my God, what did I do? And then they don't do anything wrong.
I love it. All right.
Or they just don't listen to you at all.
Let's hope it's the first one.
No, just kidding.
That's great, man. Well, listen, what's did you get your bonus check yet? Is that come in the mail yet?
Not yet. I'm like, man, where is this thing?
Oh, you're still waiting. Yeah, I was gonna say it takes a while.
Yeah.
You get the award, but people don't realize your drug test has to pass. Everything's got to get done. So you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I ain't got no problem there. They can check everything they wanted from there. You know, I'm good to go.
You learned your lesson on that one?
No, man, it was 9-day notice. Yeah, you can only do so much in 9 days. I wasn't going to take another supplement to make it look like I take a pen and then make me look like a real cheater. Because I didn't cheat. You know, I came in to fill the card to try to help the UFC put on a beautiful show, which I happened to do, actually. I got my ass whooped, you know, everyone liked it, and then I came back and knocked them out at the end as a little Cinderella story. You know, I honestly looked at it like my worst fight ever, and I still watch that fight just to critique myself to make sure I don't do anything that I did in that fight. Isn't that funny?
It was a fun fight.
It was exciting. But, man, my head hurt for like about 6-7 days after that thing. It was a good day. It was a good and bad same time.
So you're still waiting around on that 50 G's. That's got to be tough, man. I mean, do you know when it's coming? Or, I mean, you got to be thinking, bro, I got plans for this money.
Yeah, I got plans. Put it in the bank. Until I fight again and then try to get another one.
Nice.
You know?
So you're not going out blowing it. You're putting that one in the bank.
No, man, I got to put all this in the bank. I got kids. They have to have some sort of security if I die mysteriously in some craziness. You know?
You'd probably be as crazy as you seem to be. It sounds like you got a pretty good head on your shoulders.
Oh, hey, when I'm in there, that's something different. That's a totally different person. Out here, man, I'm a parent. I got kids. You know, don't disrespect me, because I can go a little bit crazy, but, you know, as long as we're all respectful, it's all good, man. I'm a good old guy. I try to be nice to everybody. You know? So I try not to start nothing. You see me, man, we talk. You know, I'm just I smile. I can't stop smiling right now. You know, like, I like to be happy.
No doubt. Well, tell me about, I mean, you know, beating Alan Jouban the way you did, man. As you said, we've talked, we've had some conversations, and, you know, you definitely have confidence. You definitely believe in yourself. But that said, I mean, beating a guy like Alan Jouban and doing it the way you did you even have to, like, kind of take a step back? And, did that kind of help you out to be like, damn, like, I really am something. I got something going here.
Man, I surprised the crap out of myself. No, I'm just kidding. No, I did it and I did it. You know, like, I train hard, man. I'm trying to be a champion. I'm not in this to, like, do nothing else. I'm not here to just get punched in the head, you know. I'm here. I'm coming. And I'm not trying to sound cocky, but I'm here and I'm not stopped until I'm at the top. You know, and I'll claw my way there any way I got it. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, man.
I'm very persistent. So
I love it, man.
you know, I'm just ready, and not only that, it's like I'm not afraid to lose. You know, like, hey, we're gonna lose, whatever. It's a fighting sport, you know. But if you beat me, you're gonna remember every second in there with me, because I'm gonna make you. Because I'm not going out like no little punk. I'm going out with my shield and my sword, and we're swinging till I'm dead. Just like that, I'm going at it.
I love it, man. You can't beat that attitude. That's all anybody can ask for, right? I mean, that's all anybody wants in a fighter.
Man, my last when I was 5-0, after that fight, I started calling out like those bigger promotions to look at me, and I'm like, just trust me, trust me. Even if I lose, it's gonna be good. Trust me, you know.
That's awesome.
But like, I'll accept the loss, but they'll have to take it from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not afraid to lose. If you're the better person, well, man, if you're the better person, man, I salute to that. But I'm gonna come back, try to beat you again. Trust me.
I dig it, man.
How it is. I can't quit.
Well, what do you think, man? This Madison Square Garden card. Are there any names that stick out to you? Is there anybody that makes sense for you, or are you just trying to get on that card regardless of who it is?
I want a nice name, you know. I'd like a good fight, you know. Someone to make a little shiver down my spine. You know who, like I know it's way too early for me to be saying me versus this person, you know. But I'll tell you this: I think me and Donald Cerrone would be an amazing fight, because he's gonna bang, man, and you already know I'm down to bang, and I think that would be sweet. And this is no disrespect to anyone, because you know I'm not a disrespectful person, you know. But tell me that wouldn't be like a bonus fight and a half. Let's go.
It'd be a good show. There's no question about it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm right there. Don Cerrone is like part of the reason that I watch the game, because he's always been exciting. And man, that would be amazing to go in there and square off a true legend. You know.
He just got.
But, I mean, that's my high hope. You know, my high hope.
I like that.
It doesn't have to be this one. It can be whenever.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say he literally just got booked today. They put him against that Darren Till kid that fought last week in Rotterdam. They put him in. It looks like they're gonna headline Poland in October, which is only like 2 weeks ahead of that.
Oh, man! I should have spoke yesterday.
Well, maybe he could turn around in 2 weeks, man. We are talking about Cowboy. He might come back and turn around and fight you 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if he doesn't, if I'm good, I will. Let's do it. Fuck it.
Oh, that's great, man. Well, I'm sure they can find something for you. I mean, I was kind of looking at names that might make sense. I mean, I wish we knew what was going on with Carlos Condit. I mean, he's kind of been out for a while. That'd be a great one, too.
Ooh, man, we're definitely going to see blood from me and him getting there.
That'd be a good one.
Because he's an elbow fucking... I got my elbows from him.
Yeah?
Yes, my elbows, I will say, I've formed them off of the style of Carlos Condit.
That's
Isn't that cool? No, I'm telling you, any of these legends would be amazing. Just to feel like that, you know, like, yeah, I've been watching you for so long, just getting there and square off with you would be like, what's up? That'd be so cool. That would be another blessing.
Could even see like a Tarek Safadine or maybe a Santiago
that would be cool
too. Somebody like that.
Maybe Dong Young Kim. Maybe even Gunnar Nelson, because he beat Jovain last.
That'd be a good.
You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, even though didn't he just get beat by Santiago Pontevedra?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool, man.
There you go. You got options. Yeah. We'll throw them all out there. We'll see what happens. We'll call these matchmakers up and see what we can make happen.
If they put me in, you already know. I'm there. I'm there to just compete, have fun, and just do it. You know, live the life of being a professional athlete. It's been my dream forever to be a professional athlete.
I love
You
it.
know?
I love it, man. All right, brother. Well, I will let you tend to your family, man. I know you got to get everything ready and spend a little time with them, make sure everybody's good and safe and ready for this weekend. So good luck riding it out. We wish you all the best. Hopefully that thing takes a turn back into the Atlantic and you guys are all good.
Hell yeah, that'd be amazing. Thank you, sir, so much.
You got it, brother. We'll talk soon.
God bless. Bye.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Niko Price getting ready for some big-time weather. Hopefully everything is good. And maybe getting himself ready for a big-time fight. I'd love to see him in Madison Square Garden. I was just looking at that card, man. It's going to be a fun card already. And Niko is one of those guys. Sign me up. When he's on, I'm in. So I wouldn't mind seeing him on that one bit. Hey, listen, I should say, if you like what you're hearing, I hope you do. Log in. Do it in iTunes. If you're at Audio Boom, do that. That's our new host there with the USA Today Sports Podcast Network. But you know me, I'm kind of an iTunes guy. I'm old school. I'm 40 years old, man. I'm not all caught up in these newfangled areas, but I know iTunes at least. You could be like our man Car Crash, who logged in, left 5 stars, and left this review. He said, "I've listened to this podcast for as long as I can remember and really enjoy the content. The environment created by the show is genuine, and I never feel like I'm being fed lip service. Great job, guys. More and a halves, please." I know, and then I just didn't give him an and a half. But I do appreciate the feedback. I should say that's from our man Kevin, who stopped by Boomers for Thirsty Thursday last week, set in for a segment, had a couple frosty beverages with us. And you know what's funny? I never talked about not using his last name, but I'm kind of glad I didn't. Kevin is an intense dude, and he's got stuff going on, man. Former military man, and he's got that same intensity now. And I think it's just best that no one knows his last name. Just let him be in peace, ride kind of under the radar a little bit, because he knows some things. That's all I'm going to say. He knows some things. He's a good dude, though. Really enjoyed having a frosty beverage with him. Listen, if we're ever in your town or you're ever in ours, feel free. As Kevin learned, stop by, man. We'll have a couple cocktails with you, and then hell, we may even stick a headset on you and get your take. He ended up watching the Mayweather-McGregor fight a couple days later, about a week later, actually. Watched the replay for the first time. It was fun to hear his reaction. He hit me up on Twitter and kind of gave me his thoughts. So, listen, this weekend is UFC 215. There are a couple other fights going on as well. There's actually an LFA event the night before, and then of course next week you get into One Championship, Cage Warriors, UFC Fight Night again, this time in Pittsburgh. Then it goes Japan, LFA. So we're getting back into it. We're starting to get a little bit of we may not have the huge events, but we are starting to get back in the swing of MMA again, and I dig it. As I said, Cold Coffee, Mike Bohn are up there in Edmonton, so we'll have full coverage coming from there all week. A card that's not getting a lot of love. Get it. I mean, listen, there's just no two ways about it. You know, this is a pay-per-view event. Probably not going to be great sales. Just two kind of low-selling champions, and I think it's a damn shame because I think the title fights are really good fights. But listen, I mean, Dana White openly kind of shit on both these title fights, right? I mean, you know, the interview that he had with us way back in the summertime when he mentioned that he was putting Demetrious Johnson and Ray Borg together, and it was just kind of like, yeah, that's what he wants. That's what we're going to do. Maybe nobody will watch it, you know. Certainly remember those quotes. And then, of course, Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko. Dana was, you know, incredibly emotional when he lost this fight as a headliner earlier this summer, and he had to rebook it, you know, talking about losing a title fight the day of. Totally get his frustration. I think we would all be frustrated if we were in that same position, but he ended up basically questioning Amanda Nunes' toughness, and certainly no need for that. Great fights. You know, I'll see a lot of people picking Valentina Shevchenko in the upset. It's hard not to think back to their first fight and to think if it goes late, Valentina Shevchenko is favored late. Hard not to think about that at all. Demetrious Johnson, a huge. I'm actually siding with Amanda Nunes though. I'm rolling with the champ. Demetrious Johnson, hard not to pick him as a favorite. The guy is pound for pound number one, if not number two at worst. I mean, John Jones, of course, if he didn't have all his issues going on and he'd been fighting and winning and all those things, I think he'd be the clear number one. But he has had issues. Rayborg is certainly somebody that hasn't had a lot of big fights, probably not somebody that's really well known in the public opinion, but certainly offers a legitimate challenge. It's just you're going against Demetrious Johnson. I mean, how do you pick against Demetrious Johnson? How do you pick against John Jones? I mean, how do you pick against those guys? So, yeah, it's two good title fights, and just the issue is the marketability factor, and it's probably not going to be a big pay-per-view. This is one of those ones. I used to back before I was working at this as a living. I was buying the pay-per-views on the weekends, and I kind of had those pay-per-views that I would buy like by myself. That I was so into a fight that I didn't want people talking to me. I didn't want people bothering me. I wanted to just dial it in and focus on the fight. And then there were fights that I would make sure to have people over so we could split the cost. And then there were fights that maybe I'd just go to the bar and watch it there. And this is definitely one of those ones I think, you have some people over, you go watch at a bar. I get it. And the UFC knows what to expect as well. But I do think it's a really good card. I do think it's a lot of fun. Los Francis Ngannou versus Junior Dos Santos. What a huge jewel that would have been, right? I mean, that was a fight that a lot of people were looking forward to. That would have made it look nice. But Rafael Dos Anjos versus Neil Magny, key fight there, especially now that we find out that Dos Anjos had potentially a title fight lined up in the welterweight division. So this is a key fight there. Ilir Latifi versus Tyson Pedro. Tyson Pedro is a roadshow favorite. That's a fun fight. Gilbert Melendez, Jeremy Stevens. Come on, tell me how that fight's not fun. And then you go down the card a little bit and you start going, okay, we got us a couple little fights on here. Sarah McMahon, Ketlin Vieira could be a fun women's fight. Henry Cejudo, Wilson Hayes, that's a key fight there. Two big names in the division. Kind of surprised they got matched up, but somebody's going to remain relevant, somebody isn't. Ashley Evans Smith against Sarah Morris, so another women's fight if you're into that. Rick Glenn versus Gavin Tucker. And then way down there on the Fight Pass prelims, Mitch Clark versus Alex White, the debut of Arjan Buller versus Luis Enrique, and Cajun Johnson versus Adriana Martin. So, certainly the bigger names at the top, but I think some fun matchups on paper. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I really do. I think it's going to be a fun fight card, but I totally understand if you're not willing to plop down your $50, especially, you're probably in that same billing cycle, right? If you paid your $100 for Mayweather McGregor, you're either in that same billing cycle, or at the very least, you just got your bill in. In fact, I know I literally just paid my DirecTV bill today. So, maybe you just paid your bill and you're like, damn, I don't know if I can throw another $50 on. So I get it, man, and I know the UFC gets it as well. This is probably not going to be a financial success for them, but I do think there's some fun fights. So I think if you can get to a TV some way, you should. So, Demetrious Johnson, real quickly, I just want to play a little bit of audio. We had this great conversation with Dave Sholler, and most of you have heard big chunks and pieces of that. We had some great videos that Abby Subban did some fantastic edits on that were part of this conversation that I had with Dave Sholler that Ken Hathaway shot the video for. We had some great stuff with Jones Cormier. We had some great stuff with Mayweather McGregor. But there was one little piece, and it's just a quick piece, where he talks about Demetrious Johnson and what it's going to take for Demetrious Johnson to be a star and why he's not a star. And this was picked up on the tail end of a conversation that Dave and I were having about the WC. So I just want to go back and revisit this one little piece. It's not very long at all, but just to kind of get it out there and get some thoughts and hear somebody that had to market Demetrious. As a former vice president of PR, this was his job, was to help market him. And I think he had some kind of interesting thoughts, and I want to kind of go back and revisit them. So here's Dave Sholler.
It's funny because I do feel like, you said it didn't at the time have that cult following. Like, I think people do have that love. The WC never forget. It kind of like pride never die or whatever. But, you guys had the added thing of marketing little guys, right? Yeah. And that seems to be a struggle now. What do you feel like? Do you feel like, why is it hard to sell the little guys? Demetrious Johnson's got to be one of the most exciting mixed martial artists, to ever grace the planet.
I'll go one step further. I think he is the pound-for-pound best fighter to ever do it. With all due respect to Fedor and John Jones and Anderson Silva, I think Demetrious Johnson is the pound-for-pound best fighter I've ever seen compete. And he showed me a lot of resolve. If you remember, he fought Brad Pickett in the WEC, and that was kind of a turning point moment for him. He loses the fight. It was on short notice. He got kind of ragdolled a bit in that fight, and you wonder how a guy was going to come back. And not only did he come back, he went on one of the greatest runs in UFC and WEC history. To me, it's a struggle in the sense that sometimes when you have greatness, you can lose a little perception of reality. And I think we forget, with all due respect to the Spider, Anderson Silva, he wasn't a major draw until Chael Sonnen came along. I'm not sure DJ needs a Chael Sonnen, but I think the UFC is doing an ample job of trying to promote him in the sense that he had the Ultimate Fighter show. He's been co-main eventing major cards. For Demetrious Johnson, I equate it a bit to Floyd Mayweather's early career. When you think back to Floyd Mayweather when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, when he was fighting Carlos Baldomir and Arturo Gatti, he was doing good numbers, but he was not Money Mayweather. Sometimes these weight classes take time, and some of the fruits of the labor may not be there for Demetrious in terms of recognition by the time he's ready to retire. But I think we'll be sitting here in 50 years talking about Demetrious Johnson like baseball players talk about Babe Ruth, like basketball players talk about Jordan, like hockey players talk about Gretzky. He's that damn good. But sometimes the publicity and the hype doesn't catch you when it's supposed to. So I don't necessarily think DJ's doing anything wrong because he's true to himself, and I don't think the UFC is doing anything wrong. It's just a matter of trying to find that spark, that perfect moment. Sometimes it's Jones and Cormier fighting on the stage. Sometimes it's Ronda Rousey armbarring the hell out of everyone they put in her way. And sometimes it's a 5'9" Irishman who talks the talk and walks the walk. It's not one size fits all. And if there was one thing I learned in the star building aspect of the UFC, one, it is not one size fits all. And if I can add a second, it's sometimes it happens when you expect it, and sometimes it happens when you don't. A lot of people know Justin Gaethje now. With all due respect to his career in the World Series of Fighting, a lot of people know who he is now. Gilbert Melendez is one of the most accomplished fighters in the history of the 155-pound division. The night he fought, not only Josh Thompson, but the night he fought Diego Sanchez, a lot of people woke up the next morning and watched SportsCenter and go, I got to know who Gilbert Melendez is a little bit more. Sometimes it doesn't happen when you plan it or when you want it, but when it happens, you know it.
All right, so that was Mr. Dave Sholler talking about Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, and we'll get some thoughts on that in just a minute. But look who I unearthed from up in the Great White North. It is Cold Coffee himself. I got him on the phone. Apparently he's putting down some Molson Canadians and a little bit of Irish whiskey, it sounds like. What's going on, man?
Oh, man, not much. But I stayed true to brand. I didn't do the Canadians. We almost did. I am actually drinking America's finest export Pabst Blue Ribbon, award-winning. They have it all fucked up, like the label's all messed up, and it's got like funny language on it. It looks like French or something. But it's still the Pabst Blue Ribbon. But we do have Jameson in the crib. The young Mike Bohn is a connoisseur of the fine Irish whiskey, which I appreciate. So yeah, we have a little of that. We haven't really tapped into that tonight, so we will be getting into that before we make it out of the gate to try to go get some wings or something. I think is going to be the ephemeral dinner this evening. But I want to first, before we move, I want to give a shout out to Vincent. I'm sitting at the open workouts today, and I know we'll get to it, but I hear this, hey, iced coffee. Iced coffee. And I'm thinking, like, iced coffee. I doubt somebody's just yelling iced coffee unless they really like iced coffee and they're like asking their buddy, hey, can I have that iced coffee? I'm thinking, I wonder if somebody's trying to say like cold coffee. And I turn around and he's like, hey, iced coffee. I was like, oh man, what's up? It's cold coffee. He's like, yeah man, iced coffee, what's up? I'm iced coffee / cold coffee in Edmonton. They kind of do their own things, but no, it was awesome. So I took a picture with him, but it was cool. Then he proceeded to ask where you were, and I told him it was just me and the young Mike Bohn on this one. And but but it was cool. It felt good to have someone. He says he's a regular listener, so I said I'll definitely give you a shout out on the episode. So I want to make sure I give a shout out to Vincent. Iced Coffee thanks you, brother, for listening.
That is awesome. Iced Coffee. You're not losing that one. I think we're keeping that one. I
don't know if I'm that. I'd have to be super cool to be iced coffee. I'm lukewarm, warm room temperature coffee. I'm just a cold coffee.
I love it. It's funny, man. I tell you, it is cool. We've talked about it before, but I love it when people are like, "Hey, I read your stuff on MMA Junkie." Cool. You know what I mean? It's a very popular website. We all love the same sport. I love that. But when people are like, "I listen to the podcast," I'm like, I don't know why, man. That it's more special to me for some reason. Like, damn, dude, you listen to just our little having some fun, shooting this shit every week, man. Like, that's really cool. I love that. So I encourage anybody to come say what's up when we're in town if they can, because there is something really cool about that.
I agree. You're right. It definitely gives you a bolt of energy because, granted, first and foremost, we love it when people. We're always repping Junkie for life. But when somebody comes up and say they listen to the podcast, it's definitely it would definitely raise my spirits. Not that today was a heavy lift. It wasn't too hectic. I'm telling you, folks. Dealing with boxing and then getting back to a UFC event where things are just calm and orderly, and let alone we're in Canada where everybody's fucking polite as all shit, and it wasn't like there was a heavy media presence. Even yesterday at the media day, there was a local media. There was a presence there. There was people there, but you could tell this was like the first time that they had covered an event. They kind of come in there, they see the 2 chairs set up on the stage, and everybody starts lining up. It's probably my fault because I got in there first, of course, like we do.
Yes, we do.
And Mike Bohn got there really early, got there in time to have a coffee, come downstairs, settle down. But we got in, I set my tripod in the middle. But for anybody that works these things, I set my tripod in the middle just to claim the space for the face-off at the end. And then I had my monopod so we can go do the individual interviews. So as local media's kind of come in, you can see them coming in. They had that look in their eyes like, how's this going to go? What's going to happen? So we kind of took it on ourselves to tell them, like, hey, this is just where the face-offs is. It's individual scrums. You can go around and get what guys you want, and then you kind of get back together in the middle for the end. But as you're looking in their faces, most of these guys had no idea who anybody was or had any desire to see anybody. And maybe Mike can speak differently, but half of the guys I didn't see go around the room at all. There was a gentleman that sat in the chair next to Neil Magny when we did our interview with Neil Magny, so he got some audio there, and then he asked a few questions after that. Then I don't think he really even moved. There was a couple other guys, talking that they heard us say that, Neil's a good dude, we're looking forward to that. So they're like, oh, hey, that Neil Magny guy, did we hear you say he's a good guy to interview?
Hey?
Kind of taking cues off of us. And, but they just, us being us, most of the people, of course, scrambled straight over to DJ when he started, and that's when we took our turns to kind of work the circuit and work everybody else. That's why you'll see interviews for the other fighters on our site that most everybody else just did, DJ and maybe Amanda. Unfortunately, we didn't get to Borg and we didn't get to Tyson Pedro, because while we were doing the other interviews, nobody was going to Tyson. And he finally I think just had enough where he was like, okay, I'm just going to get up and fucking leave because nobody's coming over. And it sucks. He left, then he came back, took his signboard. If nobody's ever seen these things, they have these big, like cardboard signs, and it kind of says the fighter's name, maybe, and then their Twitter handle. And it's cool because a lot of fighters usually, it doesn't get used for anything else. The UFC would just throw them away. So, they let the fighters keep him. But it's funny, he left, and then he kind of, I think, realized, hey, are you guys going to do anything with that? And then doubled back and got his sign. But it was interesting. So local media has been here. They're not the biggest informed when it comes to the MMA sport, but they were there. They were giving it a go. I think it's a bigger hockey community up here. Granted, we were in the Oilers Hall of Fame room where we did the open workout. The media day, and then today we're at the Rogers in a different room. the Rogers place in that arena is just going to the outside of it. Pretty spectacular looking building.
Looks sharp.
Nice,
Yeah,
it's got some really, really neat features inside there. So I'm looking forward to see what it looks like once we get into the actual arena proper itself. But I did notice something funny, and if anybody wants to do this, I showed this to Mike. If you're on Google Maps, and there's a feature you can drag the little man and you get the street view, and you can just sort of move down the street as you're trying to look at the building. You can look at and see how it looks. I was doing that on Google Maps, trying to scan along the building to see where this particular entrance was. So as I'm moving down the street, you can see the building, and then there's a little street that marks the far end of what the building is. But in Google Maps, it's like there's a bug or some glitch. So when you get to that street and then you turn right to go on the street, it becomes like an empty dirt field or a lot. Like they took a picture before they built the venue. So I was like, wait, what's going on here? I was like, did I click on the wrong street? So if you back up one and go back down the street like you're looking at the thing, and then magically Rogers shows back up.
That's
so it was like
awesome.
this weird glitch. So yeah, maybe they'll fix it, maybe they don't. But if anybody's got way too much time on their hands and you want to see the Google Maps phenomena of the Rogers place disappearing, hop on there on the Google Maps, go down the street, and then turn down the street and watch it disappear. It becomes like a park with like weird parking in it or something.
Fun.
But it's really, really
Fun
ridiculous.
with Google Maps.
Fun with Google Maps.
Well, let's talk about the fight, Cold Coffee. I want to get your opinion on it. I just played the audio that we had, the little bit of Dave Sholler, talking about the fact that Demetrious Johnson, to him, is the pound for pound best in the world, and he brought up the interesting comparison, which I thought it was really fun because we did this several months ago, but he brought up the comparisons to Floyd Mayweather. That Floyd Mayweather at one point in time, when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, wasn't really that popular. He was good, but he wasn't popular. And then, one day there was a switch and he became Money Mayweather, and now, he just retired and is like boxing's, biggest superstar, no doubt about it. So I don't know. What do you get the sense with Demetrious? Because, there's no doubting his greatness, man. The guy is unbelievable. And I get tired of talking about why he's not popular or whose fault it is or whatever, but do you think there's a chance that it ever changes? Sholler was like, man, this is a guy that, in retrospect, someday we're going to talk about how great he was. This is one of the best ever, and we're going to reminisce. But, do you think in his career there's ever going to be a chance that he finally just catches on with people?
I hope so. And Dave's completely right. This is a guy that and could be setting records in easily 15, 16, 17 defenses. He could set a number that no one's going to reach for quite some time. I think that's just the nature of the sport. You got these cats coming up that have been training, and eventually I think it's going to be where, we still haven't yet had another two-time Heisman winner. Back-to-back Heisman. That's just nuts. So to think about where he's at and the number that he's possibly going to set, I'd like to think that what he's done and what he's really going to do, that it's going to be so hard for people to finally stop giving him the accolades that he should get and deserve. The dude's an absolute stud. And I think the only way, and it sucks because maybe it's just the way that society is and maybe the way that people want these big money fights, the only way I feel he's going to do it is if he has to step out, at least to have it immediately, is to step out of his division, take a fight for whatever money. And I don't know if the UFC is ever willing to give the money, because here's a guy that, he's saying, hey, I'll fight these fights, but just pay me the money.
Right.
Whereas, he can literally stay in his division, keep walking through guys, making the money that he's making, be comfortable, have a good life, and set a record that nobody's ever going to touch, probably ever again. He has that potential, and I think with the changing landscape of MMA martial artists coming up, that he has the possibility of setting a number that no one's going to touch ever, or maybe not in quite some time. The numbers, I think, could be staggering. I think if he doesn't stop himself and do something stupid, or he just eventually starts showing the age, he starts slowing down. Well, that's what I love about DJ, is that the way that he approaches his training, how he approaches his fights, he's constantly challenging himself. He's constantly setting these short goals to focus on that keeps them engaged, keeps them working on the things to get better. I mean, for him, it's never been about training for a particular opponent. It's always been training for himself and getting himself better and better. And right now, he's already such a sharp tool that he's just fine-tuning the blade, and he's just slicing and dicing through all the competition. Can't nobody touch him right now. It's the only thing that's going to blunt it is if he does something on his own or he stops sharpening the tools. So I think, unfortunately for him, the only way for people to just stop putting these extra things on him is, unfortunately, for him to do exactly that, to step outside of his division, fight one of these guys, either settle for less money, which sucks because everybody else seems to be the squeaky wheel and say, hey, I'll fight, just pay me this money. Maybe the bar that he's setting is just too extreme, that if he maybe comes down, I'm not sure what he's asking. I don't know if he's ever said it. I mean, I would like to think that if they threw $1 million out there to fight Cody, he would fight him.
I know he said $2 million in the past, which, I mean, when you're talking about Conor probably making 20 or 25, $2 doesn't sound like that much.
It doesn't, but I mean, when you're thinking about the sheer breadth of followers, the social media output, just nobody's on Conor's level right there. There's no other MMA artist.
It's not even fair. It's not even fair to compare.
It's not. It really, really isn't. And even the thing with Conor now, you can't really even almost compare him with just MMA guys. It's hard to compare him with just sports figures in general.
Yeah.
Like the dude he's doing right now, and even to the next level, what Ronda was able to do. She bridged the gap to where people are like, oh, okay, here's this MMA person, but oh, hey, they're cool. They have this it factor. I mean, it doesn't get much more it factor than what Conor's bringing. So to try to command anything near those numbers, just because you are a champ and just because you have these what could become legendary numbers, there's just those other factors, which is why people are shelling out money. Unfortunately, it sucks in the sport that people aren't shelling out the money just because you're that guy that has 10 defenses or even 11 or maybe even 12. And we've seen, I think, DJ make the moves to make himself more marketable, more of the bad guy, more of the guy with a chip on his shoulder, more of this marketable, aspect. And then people, I think, are like, okay, I want to maybe watch this guy. I want to do these little things. And Conor was able to just do that leaps and bounds. And people are throwing money hand over fist for him. They're like, dude, just keep the show going. Keep the spectacle going. Mm-hmm. And that's why people thought that maybe he would take a hit when he took that Diaz loss, but he never did. Never took the hit because he's still a fucking champion. Maybe once the belt goes and maybe there's a little bit of tarnishing that happens, and then things, you can't command the kind of things. But I don't know, $2 million is pretty tough. I mean, it would depend on who it is, because then you're looking at what they're going to have to pay the other person, and nobody's wants to pay. I mean, I love Cody Garbrandt, I love those two, but nobody wants to pay $2 million to watch Cody fight either.
Right. So
why do you want? I mean, you can't just give DJ $2 million and give Cody $500,000. That doesn't work. So you got to give him something. Who wants to? I mean, there's not money to pay for a $3 or $4 million fight between Cody Garbrandt and Demetrious Johnson. However good and how much I like these dudes, no, there's just not the interest. There's not going to be the dollars behind it, unfortunately. And it sucks because when you look at the skill level and if it would all came down to the effort that they put into their training, if it came into the effort that they put into the fight, they deserve every bit of it. But unfortunately, that's not what pays, and that's not what gets people to click on the click the Instagram thing to watch an ad or watch this. I mean, we had more people that were interested watching Valentina dance around on the stage than DJ talk about this fake PED. And that just goes right there. I mean, we put big old blanket phrases out here. Here's the champ, ultimately the GOAT. And he talks about, hey, he takes a PED. Oh, yeah, I better tune in. No, let's watch the cute girl dance around on the stage. And that's just maybe it's a sign of the times, maybe whatever. But I would like to think that would change. but maybe unfortunately it's going to have to come at the cost where maybe some pride, maybe a little bit of coming down on the number, because, I mean, dude deserves to get paid. I mean, he's doing great things, but once you start paying that number, it's hard to come back. And if he's just destroying dudes, then you start getting, there's that big gap between, you know, you got DJ wanting to come in and make more money. You're not going to pay Ray Borg that kind of money or anything even close, but you got to pay him something somewhat close. So I don't know. It's tough. I mean, he deserves it because DJ is what he does, and his team, the work ethic that they're able to do, the stuff that he can do. He literally is probably going to put up numbers that will never be touched. So I hope at some point, while he's still active and not after the fact, once people realize what amazing things that he's, amazing numbers, amazing feats that he's put up, that this dude, he's pretty spectacular. He's one of a kind. And, I mean, I don't doubt that the dude can put 16, 17 title defenses before he finally just is like, hey, fuck it, maybe I'll walk away. Yeah. Maybe I'm done. Maybe I've made enough.
That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and nobody will break it.
Exactly.
I don't think they'll ever break it.
That'd be amazing. All right, let's say you talk about the girl dancing on the stage. I want to know what the, because I feel like I'm still riding with Nunes on this one. I'm still riding with Nunes, but I feel like the overwhelming majority of people are starting to kind of pull for that upset and thinking Shevchenko's, you know, got her number, and, you know, obviously Shevchenko's confident as hell, and you know, people are doubting Amanda and saying she was scared, which is just ridiculous to think that she was scared to pull out of a fight. But what's it been like being around Amanda this week? Has she got a little chip on her shoulder? Does she feel like the world's against her? What's her mindset?
Not really. I mean, like, she addressed it and she kind of laughed because in her, if you ask her, she'll tell you she's been an underdog her whole career. So it's nothing new that people want to root for her opponent to beat her. But I mean, now Nunes is coming in. I mean, she came in earlier this week. I mean, at the media day, was talking like she still had, I want to say, like 15 pounds or so to go, but didn't look nervous at all. Didn't look scared at all. Today, you could tell that she had shed some weight, but she still looked very hydrated, looked like she had a lot of energy. She was putting out a lot of exercise and a lot of energy at her open workout, which is not something you do if you're struggling. So, but it could be that we're at a point in her career where her body might start fighting this cut that she's so used to doing. So I guess we'll see, you know, how that plays out. But no, she's been looking confident. I'm with you too. I mean, there's no reason to be scared. One, she's fighting somebody she's already beat, and I think for her, you know, it's not the fact that like her identity wouldn't end if she loses the belt. Like, she was already a stud before she got the belt. When she got the belt, great. I mean, she'll get the belt again. Like, she's not going to change. So I don't think she has anything to really fear by losing the belt. So I don't think there's any fear, anything like that. But no, she's been looking really good. She looked solid on the open work. I thought her hands looked good. She had tons of energy. She was actually very relaxed. There was a bit there where her and her coach were doing some capoeira up there and kind of twirling around and tumbling, and she looked super relaxed. And I think she was probably as confident as ever. Her team is super confident. Mike Bohn got an interview with Conan Silveira, and he's confident that the belt's coming back. I just think that if there is any question, if there is any nervousness, if there is anything, she's certainly not showing it. They believe that they have the plan in place, that they've done the work, they've done it before. She doesn't feel that Valentina's changed any as a fighter, that she knows already what to expect. So, no, I mean, I think she's coming in prepared. I'm kind of, you know, it's hard she hits so hard. Mm-hmm. She hits so hard that it's hard to go against it. But you're right, Valentina's coming with a lot of energy, and, you know, me being the guy that can't pick for shit, you know, I was starting to swing the other way. You know, I was like, hey, man, I think Valentina's going to do it. But, you know, as much as you saw me rooting all Team MMA and the Floyd versus Conor, I don't pick very well. But I think Valentina has all the confidence in the world. She's got her sister around her. She's got her team here. She looked really, really good. And she was another person that looked completely at ease during the whole process. Even when the fight fell out, and even when we interviewed her at the UFC headquarters, she's been so uber focused. She's been so, you could tell like she's done all the preparation that she needs to do. And I think it's just a matter of getting in there. Is she possible of doing it? I think so, because she went the distance with it before. I think the fight, it looked at when they fought before, it was 3 rounds. It looked like if there were 2 extra rounds, she would have had the better.
Absolutely.
Like the momentum was changing. And I don't see any reason why that isn't any different in this time. Amanda is very, very strong. She's super powerful. But I think she has a point where that strength and that starts to wane because she expends a lot of energy. And I think the first 2 rounds are very telling. If she does a lot of damage on Valentina, I think she's definitely going to come out with it. But if Valentina is able to stay away from the punching, which everybody wants to stay away from the punching, obviously, I think if she can kind of keep her distance, kind of work her strikes, and keep it more of a striking Muay Thai fight, and use that and eventually kind of wear Amanda down, I think Valentina definitely has the skill set to do it. And she's got super slick jiu-jitsu. She's got a great submission game. And I think she's been working some stuff up. Like today, even Amanda was working a few spinning back fists that didn't connect. It felt like the timing was a little off, but it's a fucking open workout. I can't look too much into it. But when Valentina was doing it, she was making contact. She was working some unique things with some kicks and stuff. She looked really good. She just looked sharp. I think ultimately with these two, they're so evenly matched in a lot of things. It's just gonna be a matter of who's peaking the best. And Valentina looked really, really good. And I think tomorrow we'll see when it comes down to this last bit of weight that Amanda's gonna be shredding, how that's going to weigh in on her, and if it is tougher, if her body is starting to fight her, which a lot of people speculate is what happened last time, and that's why she had to pull out, that it was ultimately the weight cut and the hard recovery from the weight cut. She made weight, but it was the hard recovery that threw her body for a loop, that if something like that happens again, it's going to be in Valentina's favor. And so that's why I think if I had to put money on it, I would put money on Valentina to be able to get the upset. Or is it even an upset if people are considering the favorite?
No, she's still the underdog, but it just feels like momentum. She's definitely still the underdog, I think, but just barely.
It's crazy. So if I had to pick, I'll go against you on this one. I'm going to go with the Shevchenko. I think Shevchenko's going to.
Well, I'll tell you what, man.
Is going to pull it out.
I'm not going to be making fun of anybody's picks. I'm back in last place again, man. Oh, you know what?
Really?
I pulled up the lines. Shevchenko is the wagering favorite. I was wrong. Amanda Nunes is actually it's very, very close. It's very, very close. But Shevchenko is actually the favorit. That's crazy. But yeah, I'm back in last place. I crawled out of the cellar and now I'm back in last place again.
Was it the last event that did it?
Yeah. I gave one away. I rolled with Connor even though I knew that was stupid. I just gave one away there. I just kind of wanted to have fun with it and buy into the fun. You know what I mean? And then I kind of overthought some upsets in Rotterdam. And man, back in last place. All right,
Who else picked Connor?
I think just me and Matt Erickson. You know when you pick the same as Matt Erickson, you know you did some stupid
Erickson
shit.
always picks the underdog. He's going for that one. He wants to be at the end of the year and be like, look at my great underdog pick.
He does. He loves to go out on the ones where everybody knows it's going the other way just so he can be like, I was the only one that picked them. Like, bro, it doesn't. You got like 10 of those wrong first. So
yeah, I was wrong 13 times out of 14, but motherfucker, I was right that one time.
I appreciate it. All right, well, hey, listen, you mentioned the young Mike Bohn. Is he anywhere close by?
He is. Let me throw him on the phone.
Get a little perspective.
Yeah, a Canadian perspective. All right, hold on 1 second.
Here's where we produce on the air, and we pretend like there's some nice music in here. It's seamless transition as we go from cold coffee, Ken Hathaway, to Mike. What's going on, Mike?
Not too much, man.
How's Edmonton treating you guys so far?
It's been great, being busy. I think we've done about 20 interviews or so over the past couple of days, so we're definitely trying to make our visit up here worthwhile.
Nice. Well, obviously you're our resident Canadian expert, not just being a Canadian citizen, but because you're up there, you cover all of our Canadian events for us. So you're there. You've seen the big shows, you've seen the small shows, and you know what the storyline has been, man. It used to be the mecca of MMA, and then lately it feels like it's there's not interest there, that the UFC is actually shitting on Canada, so to speak. I don't think this card is bad. It's got two title fights that people aren't excited about, but especially if you still had Ngannou on it, I think it'd be looking really, really good. But give me an idea, man. What's the public interest like right now? What's the buzz like?
Well, I think today we really got our first look at it with the open workouts. We actually saw some people show up, and granted, this thing is happening on midday on a Thursday when it's back to school week, so their demographic is about 18 to 35 people who are on the younger side of it. People I'm assuming are in their first week of school, going back to classes, probably don't have time to come out, but it was still a pretty nice turnout. There was a solid crowd. They were cheering on all four of the title fight competitors that were there. I think Amanda and Valentina got the two best crowd cheering, most support. Demetrious a little bit, Ray Borg probably the least, but still, they came out nice. Talking to a UFC official earlier in the week, sounds like it's on the verge of a sellout, if not a sellout by now. So that doesn't surprise me, because anytime the UFC goes to a market in Canada for the first time, be it Ottawa, Halifax, wherever, it does spectacular. It sells out. Or extremely close to it, and it's a great crowd. It's an awesome crowd. Talking to fighters this week, Jeremy Stevens says, I love competing in Canada. He hasn't done it since, I think, 2011, but he says he thinks the Canadian fans are better than the American fans. And so that doesn't surprise me. I think it's going to be a packed house, a really enthusiastic crowd on Saturday night. So I think the more telling thing will be what happens next time they come back to Edmonton, what kind of crowd it'll be that time. But right now, these people, there's no hockey yet. There's no baseball team, no basketball team in the city. So this is basically their sporting event to look forward to. So I expect it to be a lot of support, and I think it's going to be a great event in terms of the crowd on Saturday. Lots of enthusiasm for it.
It's funny. I know you haven't even had a chance to see it yet, because I'm calling you guys right after media day's over. But yeah, the embedded that came out today, I think Demetrious Johnson said something like he was told there was 91 tickets left available. So he was going to ask you about that. That's impressive, right? I mean, that's a big building, and yeah, it's the first time in the market, but I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, that shows that Canada's still buying in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different city, of course, but at least Alberta didn't turn its back after the UFC 149 debacle with that brutal card over in Calgary a few years ago. This one's definitely better, and yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be a great crowd. We heard from UFC official. It's near sellout. I'm not sure. Obviously, the tickets are a little more fairly priced than maybe your Las Vegas type of pay-per-view, but yeah, it's a big venue. I think it's around 18,000 or something like that. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of. I think it's going to be a packed house, and it should be a really fun crowd. Yeah, I think it's a great card too. I mean, you look top to bottom, not a ton of super big names or anything like that, but there is a lot of sexy matchups in my opinion. I mean, you have Sarah McMahon and Henry Cejudo, two Olympic medalists. The first time we've ever had a male and female Olympic medalists competing on a card together, and they're on the prelim.
That's impressive. I did not know that. That is, I knew I liked those fights, but I didn't realize it was the first time two medalists like that, male and female. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a pretty deep card in my opinion. You got some good stuff going on there, I think, all the way around.
What's the buzz like as far as internally? I mean, I see your fellow Canadian journalists. Some of them are a little bit more, sky is falling than other. But obviously, the running story has been, where does Canada matter? Where does this market matter in terms of the UFC in the future? What's the feel like right now? I mean, does this feel like some commitment back to the market, or is it still a lot of uncertainty?
It's tough to say, because you actually wonder what this card would look like if Mayweather-McGregor didn't happen and they did that August pay-per-view, and I think it was rumored for Seattle with Demetrious Johnson would have headlined. Like, what would this card look like right now? I think it had the benefit of getting kind of two pay-per-views blended into one, so you have to take that into consideration. I'm not really sure what to think about that, but yeah, you look at it, it's a good card. I think their mission statement, I guess if you want to call it, in Canada is pretty much set at this point. I think you're going to get a pay-per-view
a fight night and then I guess maybe a Fox card. I don't know. They had the Fox card in Vancouver with Condit and Maya last year. They got one coming up in December in Winnipeg, which, I mean, that alone, putting a mid-December card in Winnipeg makes me question their entire Canadian strategy, because that might be the first snowed out fight card in UFC history. I don't know who made that decision. Like, it just absolutely boggles my mind. But nevertheless, I think it's pretty much set into the groove of what it's going to be at this point. But who knows? We have George St. Pierre fighting later this year. Of course, we don't know what his future is going to be in the UFC. It's going to depend, I think, on the result of the fight with Michael Bisping. But you would like to hope that once, assuming he wins, they bring his next fight to Canada or something like that. I still think GSP could sell at the Bell Center, sell it there at Canada Center, sell it pretty much any venue within Canada. So it's definitely, it's not what it once was when they started coming here and they were doing like 2-3 pay-per-views in Canada a year. I think those days are gone and never coming back unless some crazy Canadian star emerges that doesn't appear to be on the horizon, at least from what we see so far. So, I mean, as a fan, you still have to be somewhat content with that. There's countries that are getting a lot less at this point. Like, you look at Brazil, how few events they're getting now compared to what they were getting before. So, like, I think you have to be fairly happy. I think they're going to be trying to hit Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal every so often, and then go to some of the smaller markets every here and there. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think you can say they've necessarily turned their back on Canada. I think it's just the reality of the situation. They're always going to put the biggest pay-per-views in Las Vegas and New York now, and Canada is going to get stuck with somewhere the leftovers, the Demetrious Johnson fights, those kind of things.
It's so bad to say that, but I mean, it is what it is. I hate saying they're leftover fights. Yeah, it is. It's just the reality. All right, talk to you about the card, man. You mentioned, we've obviously, everybody's focusing on the main card. Those were the guys that were out there this week, but you mentioned McMahon and Cejudo, which I love both those fights on the prelims. It gets a little thinner once you get below those two fights, but anything on the prelims that stands out to you that you're looking forward to that you can't wait for?
I mean, it should be interesting that what's his name, Elijah Bueller or something. He's fighting Luis Henrique on the prelims, and I'm interested just mainly to see his walkout, because he is walking out with the WWE champion Jinder Mahal, who is also from India, and I believe, Arjan Bueller. I believe he is the first Indian-born fighter that the UFC has had. He's a transplant to Canada now. He lives here, but yeah, he's someone to watch. I think at heavyweight, of course, like we're seeing lots of Nick Maynard, I think, doing a great job, not getting nearly enough credit for kind of rebuilding this heavyweight division for the ground up, and light heavyweight to a lesser extent at this point. But yeah, there's some fun fights on there. I'm really looking forward to seeing Gavin Tucker back. He had a sensational UFC debut earlier this year in Halifax, beat up Sam Cecilia pretty good, was doing the Cody Garbrandt type dancing, taunting in the cage there, and he's fighting Rick Glenn, former WSOF champion. So I think that's a pretty interesting fight there at featherweight. This guy seems like he could be a fun prospect there. So yeah, there's a few fights on there. I mean, there's not many Canadian names though, if you think about it. The first 4 prelims, I believe, 5 prelims have a Canadian on them, and then above that, there's none to be found on really the marquee fights. But those matchups, I think, will be nice to get the momentum going in the arena. Some of those Canadians can get wins. I think it'll really have the house rocking by the time you get into the Cejudos, the McMahons, and then, of course, that main card, which I think is awesome all around. Every fight on there I'm looking forward to.
It is. It's a fun main card. It really is. I think it's a shame that the card's kind of getting shit on. I mean, it's not going to do a lot of pay-per-view sales. There's no doubt about it. But it is actually, on paper, a lot of fun. If you put Ngannou back on the, Ngannou dos Santos, holy shit, that would have been amazing. All right, one more thing I want to get your thought on before I let you guys go have some frosty beverages and some dinner. Since you do routinely put on Sean Shelby's shoes and talk about matchups, we got one revealed today with Darren Till and Cowboy Cerrone. We know, that there were some extenuating circumstances there. That was not target number one. But just give me your thoughts. I mean, when it came together, what were your initial thoughts? I know you got to talk to Cowboy today since he was out there at the media day. Are you digging this? Are you hating it? What's your thoughts on this fight?
I like it. I mean, it's funny. Darren Till goes out there and calls himself the best striker in the welterweight division. Well, buddy, here you go. Here's Donald Cerrone. Let's prove it, right? Like, that's pretty much. I know he called out Santiago Ponzinibbio, but this is I think for him, probably a more exciting fight. Definitely a bigger name, a lot more upside than beating Ponzinibbio. So yeah, I think it's a good fight. We all know Donald Cerrone will literally fight anyone, anywhere. I'm a little surprised he took the fight, just less so because of the opponent, but more so because of the location. I mean, Donald Cerrone's had all 35 of his WEC, UFC fights in the United States or Canada. He ain't going to be able to drive the RV over to Poland. He's not going to be doing any wakeboarding or anything, I imagine, over there during fight week. I mean, who knows? So, like, I just find that interesting. But, yeah, it seems like he is excited about the fight. He doesn't know anything about Darren Till. He says he's never heard of him, never seen him, which, if you know Donald Cerrone, is not unique to him.
Yeah, that's not trash talking. He has no idea.
Yeah, he said the same thing about Jorge Masvidal. And I mean, if you look at that fight, obviously it didn't go in his favor, so maybe he should look into him a little bit. But yeah, I think it's one of those fights. It seems like it's almost the new guard of UFC matchmaking in a way. They are kind of willing to put guys like Donald Cerrone out to pass a little bit to create new stars, more so than I feel like maybe in the Joe Silva era. I don't know if that's, a Sean Shelby McMahon thing or what it is, but if Darren Till wins this, you have a new star, you have a guy from Europe that could be a very interesting one to watch at welterweight. So yeah, that should be a fun striking matchup. Pretty short notice, just 5 weeks, and Donald says he's not so sure if someone can prepare for him in that little time when he called it going from the minor leagues to the big leagues in this one. Said it's going to be lights, camera, action. He's getting a big step up here. So Darren Till is an extremely confident guy. He's saying all these bold statements. He's the best striker, this and that. Well, you're going to find out very soon.
I dig it, man. I know, like I said, I know it wasn't their first option, but as a backup plan or an emergency plan, I don't see any way the fight's not going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, man. I'll let you guys get out of here. I've taken enough of your time. I know you guys have been busy. I know you want to go enjoy some of that famous Edmonton nightlife for a while or something. And but you guys have fun. Appreciate all the hard work, and thanks for giving me a few minutes.
No problem, brother. Anytime.
All right, see you guys. All right, so that was Cold Coffee and the young Mike Bohn doing it up big up in Edmonton. Appreciate their time. I wish I could be with them, but hey, at least they're joining us by phone. All right, listen, one more thing I want to get to. Did you guys see this whole thing with Diego Brandao over in Fight Nights Global where he just bounced out of the cage? Crazy, right? It ended up being kind of one of the viral kind of stories or whatever that we had for this past week. That Fight Nights Global event. They're doing big fights over there. They have Maldonado on there. They have Paul Harris on there as well. And so I thought, you know what? Let's get to the bottom of that story. Find out what the hell happened there. Hadn't checked in with Kamil Gadzhiev, the president of Fight Nights Global, in a while. You've heard him on here before. It had been a while since we talked to him, and I thought this would be the perfect time to talk to Kamil. So checked in with him to talk about what's the hell happened in that Diego Brandao fight, if he wants to work them again moving forward, and also just to find out kind of what's going on with Fight Nights Global. The beginning of this year, they were trying to do some big things. They're doing some big things, but I've seen less of them. There's less of their shows on Fight Pass, and I know a little bit about what happened there, but I kind of wanted to get his perspective. So here is Kamil Gadzhiev.
How are you doing today?
Everything is good. It's deep evening. We just have a hockey match. We created here the amateur hockey ice hockey team, and members of team are all guys from MMA.
That's got to be a pretty good team.
Yeah. So, for example, Vitaly Minakov is a member. Some more guys they are not so well known in MMA world, but they are all MMA fighters or coaches, or promoters, or managers, something like this. All people from MMA world, and one team is ice fighters. So we play against some other teams, banks, companies, and others.
That's crazy. Is it in front of a crowd, or is it just for fun?
Yeah, but so we have 1 week, 1 day a week we have a training all together, and 1 day a week we have a match. And we always have something like 500 people audience, because we become a famous team, a famous amateur team here. Not professional, but good level. Andrei Arlovsky, when he was in Belarus, and when he is coming in Moscow, has here a complete of uniform for hockey, and he always plays here in this team.
That's so awesome. I have to come see that someday. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think we need to sign maybe some Canadian guys in Fight Nights Global, because all Canadian, they all play hockey. For example, Josh Hill, he's also playing hockey. So he used to be a hockey player maybe until he's 13 years old or 14 after he became wrestling, but he has very good hockey practice.
I tell you what, man, you joke, but I bet if you proposed that to some Canadian players or some Canadian fighters, I should say, they would love that.
Yeah, I think it may be interesting.
That's cool.
But for now, unfortunately for Canada, there are not so many famous MMA guys in Canada, right? So Rory McDonald, maybe George St. Pierre, some other guys. So something is, if they play hockey, it may be very interesting for some people.
It's true.
Promotion.
Well, Kamil, let's talk about Fight Nights Global, man. It's been about 6 months since we last talked on the phone. You guys have been doing a lot of big things. Talk about kind of how you feel the promotion is progressing along here in 2017.
I hope so. I hope that we have big progress. First of all, we make more events than we used to. Now we make two events in 1 month. So I think the amount of 25 events in 1 year is good. This is the first thing. The second thing, that we signed more foreign guys. We signed guys from Brazil, from United States. We signed Canadian guys. So we became more global than we were before. It's very important for us because we signed English speakers guys, and now we are not just Russian promotion as we were before. Now we make some really good shows with very I hope with high level fights, with close fights. So everything is going well, I think, and we need to move.
How difficult has it been, Kamil? I mean, you mentioned it there at the beginning of this year, how big you wanted to get, but until you actually do it, you don't know how big the challenge really is. So just how difficult has it been, and how many lessons have there been along the way?
1 year, you're absolutely right. It was difficult 1 year again. 1 year before, I thought I know everything about MMA. I thought, but for now, I understand that 1 year ago I didn't know so many things, and for now I understand that I don't know so many things in MMA. I still don't know. So, when you every day when you work in the MMA industry, you learn some new things about people and about fighters, about communication with management teams, about new countries, everything. And so in this year we started a lot. And I think that I found some new guys in my team, some new workers, some new people who are really good matchmaker. So I'm happy with these guys. It's very important that they love MMA. They do the job very well, and we got the new event director, and he is doing his job very professional. Because twice a month, it's really hard.
Definitely.
And, we got the new guy who really thinks about our broadcasting, about level of our TV picture, about level of broadcast, about new countries who are interested in Fight Nights Global content to be on their TV channels. That's very important to be global. TV is the mainstream for everyone now, and but I don't mean just TV. New TV are also very interesting. So I think Amazon, Netflix, they became more and more interested in MMA. I think it may be the future of MMA. So new people, new professional people is the main thing that we got in this year, to be clear. And guys who were just known, now, fighters, now they're well known. We made some big events, and these big events are MMA junkie pages, and this is very important. I'm very proud every time when I see MMA junkie pages, and I see some articles about Fight Nights Global, because 2 or 3 years ago, Russian industry, Russian companies, people who work here, we didn't dream about this, but now we have this, and we have this because I think we become global. That's the thing I want to say first of all.
Definitely. Well, you're too kind, my friend. We appreciate covering you on MMA Junkie. I guess the hard part, Kamil, maybe you can give us some insight, and I don't know how much you can say or what you can't say, but the hard part about the last 6 months is that I think even though you're doing more events, we've seen less of it here in the United States because it seems like Fight Pass is a little up in the air on what events they cover and what they don't carry, and I feel like you guys have put on a lot of big fights that we haven't had a chance to see. So is there any insight in there, kind of what the future is of your broadcasting?
So what I think about this, first of all, for me it's really surprise. It's bad surprise that we are not shown on Fight Pass. We didn't show all these fights on Fight Pass, because as for me, they should be interested in this content, because we make really good content. We sign foreigners, we sign guys who were known for many years in MMA industry, but they do not show. I think this is not because of Fight Nights Global. This is more about because of strategy of new shareholders of UFC. So Fight Pass is the part of UFC, and they think that they make the new show with Dana White evenings. So they think they put this content on Fight Pass, and they stop communication with many promotions. I see that before they had shown some other promotions events of Russian. It was Tech Crab Championship and some other championships, but for now they do not show, and they show less fights of Fight Nights Global than they did before. But as I've said, we need to move. Of course, we need to move. I think this is the time for everyone to move, because MMA is the new trend all over the world. It becomes more and more known every day, and this is good time for all MMA guys, for all MMA promoters, for all MMA fighters to be better known, to get more money than before, and of course we need to. I think we can make our content more interesting for United States, for American audience. This is the target. So we need to make this more interesting. More English speakers, fighters, more so better comments, better commentators, ring announcing, everything must be better. And in this case, I think we'll have really interesting product for some of channels in the United States, or maybe for new TV.
Yeah, very nice. Well, you definitely have been making some progress. You've got some big names. Let's talk about this past weekend show. I got to ask you, some great Brazilian talent on there, some great names, but one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. With a man leaping out of the cage, Diego Brandao, and leaving the fight during the middle of the fight. Man, just give me an idea of kind of what happened and what you were thinking while this is all playing out.
Oh, yeah. Let me first say that what I think about this. Finally, I think we need to have version of Diego. This is very important also, because I think he left Russia the next day after the fight, and now he's on the way, I think, to his house, and he needs to say something. I think for all audience, he needs to post something. He needs to say something, maybe in Twitter or any other social media. We need to have his version. And as for my version, I think what's happened. think first round was very good for Diego, and he made very good punch. He made knockdown, but he lost the end of the first round, and in the beginning of the second round, he got very, very bad leg kick from Aliyev, and I think he felt really bad, and he tried to make takedown, and he didn't make, and while he was under Aliyev, he made something. He made something crazy. Maybe you remember. You remember he cut his eye. He cut his ear. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and same as Tyson before with Holyfield.
Ah.
But people he beat off once his ear, you know, and people did not see this because they were laying down on the cover, but the referee he saw this, and and Aliyev he told something on Russian because he's a Russian speaker, but referee Jan Waborny, he's not Russian, and something happened, something like Aliyev said he bite my ear, something like this, and Jan Waborny he told stop, something like this. After this, but Aliyev didn't stop, and he also broke rules, and he made 2-3 punches to Diego. After stop again, he made 1 punch at the leg, so something like this, something bad. But I think it was not bad enough to finish the fight. I think referee should take 1 point from Aliyev, take 1 point from Diego, and they should continue. But he decided to leave the cage. So I think the main reason was that he understood that he will lose that fight, because he was feeling worse and worse. And but you know something, we worked with Diego for 3 times already, and he is a good guy. He is very attractive fighter, but from time to time something is going wrong with him. You know, he has some problems with the discipline. So he left the cage, but he's very professional. He knows that if he leaves the cage, he lost the fight. He is not the guy who is fighting the second time or the third time. He knows this rule. If he leaves the cage, anyway, he lost the fight.
So
that's why judges they didn't have any other chances. So they gave the win to Aliyev. After that, people they became crazy. They became crazy because they really came to see 5-round fight, and Diego had really big audience in Dagestan because he fought there before. But people became crazy because he did something like this. I don't want to fight anymore, and left the cage. They became crazy. They told him something. They put some bottles to him. He made some. He told him some bad words. So it was really a bad situation.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for you to be in for sure. I mean, you're saying good things about Diego, so do you think you'd work with him again in the future? I mean, do you kind of give him a pass for this, or do you have to talk to him first before you make a decision like that?
For now, well, for what he will do, what he will say, because this is very important. What he thinks about all these things. We didn't make a special meeting, but we will. We'll have some special meeting, fight nights, global, and speak about what we do with this. And of course, we'll make some sanctions against Diego. But for now, we need to understand what is his position. That's very important, I think. I think you will agree with me, because we didn't hear what he said. Now he needs to say something, because today is the third day after the fight, and I think he needs to have the position. He needs to have his own opinion about this.
Yeah, I agree. Well, hopefully we'll hear what he has to say. Kamil, what else is going on with you guys in the future? I mean, are there any signings that you're looking at? Any big fights you're looking to put together? Is there any kind of breaking news that we can share about what's coming up with you guys in the immediate future?
I think we can have some big fights. As for me, I'm interested in the fight Vitaly Minakov against Tony Johnson. Tony Johnson is a really good man, big man, and he did the show here. He knocked out Russian guy in Fight Nights Global 68 and on the second minute of the fight. And he's interested in this fight. I think Minakov is also interested, and one of them, one who win, maybe he will fight for a belt, because we have a belt owner, undefeated Sergey Pavlovich now. He will fight with a baby Fedor, the guy from Fedor's team, Kirill Sidelnikov. They fight very soon in November. I think Minakov and Tony Johnson, they also will fight until the end of this year, and after we can have some more fights between these guys. It may be really interesting. And we'll look for some new fights with Rusimar Palhares. I think we'll make him a fight in Brazil, and Fight Nights Global in Brazil. And now we have a belt owner in light heavyweight. It's Fabio Maldonado, and Nikita Krylov. He will fight against Emmanuel Newton in October. And I think the winner of this fight will fight against Fabio Maldonado for a belt.
That makes a lot of sense. So you touched on Brazil. I know you guys had talked about maybe getting out of Russia and that area. Does it look like that's going to happen this year, or will it be 2018? When can we see that?
I think in the beginning of next year we should make an event in Brazil, because we have a champion light heavyweight, Fabio Maldonado. I think we should give him a chance to fight in Brazil, in his land and in his country, and it's all the same if it will be Nikita Krylov or Emmanuel Newton. Anyway, it will be a big show. And we also have Rusimar Palhares. We also have some other Brazilian guys who can really generate big audience in Brazil, and we can make the big fights. I think in the beginning of next year we should have this.
Very cool. That would be exciting. I know they'd appreciate a new organization down there. So, Kamil, I know it's late in Russia, man. I really appreciate you taking the call and updating us on everything. Anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure that people get out there and know about the Fight Nights Global?
First of all, I want to tell you thank you very much for everything you do, for things you make us support, because I think that people should know, people all over the MMA world, they should know that there are some companies who work to make interesting things in the MMA world every day. And for now, we have 25 events in a year, and all these events are really good. Please have a look at this. And I think this, and I know more. Sometimes I know more about my promotion. It's very interesting for me. And I think it should be interesting for all of this. So let's go together. And I think we can do very big work, and let's speak in sometimes. And it's very good for me. It's very how it better say. I'm pleased when you say that when we spoke before, so many things happened during this time, and I promise you that next time when we'll speak again about some new interesting things which happened during this new time.
Roadshow. Kamil, Gadzhiev getting you your updates from out there in Russia. Fight Nights Global. Yeah, they expanded and they've done some big things this year, but I know that, their shows were all on Fight Pass before, and Fight Pass now, they added shows, and they've agreed to pay them on a per-show basis, but now all of a sudden you blow the budget out of the water if you commit to more shows. So, they've had to turn down some fights, which is tough because then it makes it difficult to watch, and, then you're watching highlights in Russian. And so some growing pains, as Kamil admitted to. So be interested to see what they continue to do. We know that the UFC is focused on going to Russia, and, of course, we know that there's a lot of money over there in Russia right now and some badass fighters, that's for sure. Some badass fighters as we continue to see. One quick thing. Listen, I don't normally talk about arenas and buildings much, but the UFC is going to Detroit later this year, and I'm sure if you're from that area, you know how badass this arena is. I'm gonna say I didn't, and now I'm bummed I'm not going to be there for that show. I will not be there to cover that event in Detroit. I believe there's a UFC event the night before in Las Vegas, which is why I'll be staying home to cover that. But if you guys haven't seen this arena, I happened to just run across this story the other day. It was at NHL.com. So it's NHL.com/news. Oh, shit, you can't type all this here. But just Google Red Wings new rink sight to behold. It's an article about Little Caesars Arena and some of the technological advances that are in this thing. Holy Christ. What an arena this is going to be. I'm bummed I'm not going to get to go see this. So, bravo, Detroit, man. You guys have got yourself something special. So, anyway, listen, it's running long today, and obviously I get frustrated when I have to do phone interviews. The quality of audio is so key to me, and I'm sorry that you've had to deal with phone interviews today. Hopefully you stuck it out and gutted it out and listened to everything, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I guess if you're here this long, you're a hardcore. I'll just say that my own personal problems that I mentioned early on and last week have not gotten better. It looks like, to just put it squarely, I guess, it looks like my wife and I are going to be splitting up. So a bit of a frustrating and difficult time. Those of you that know me and that listen, my son means everything in the world to me. And, of course, got that relationship and situation and visitation, all that stuff to figure out, and a lot of not so fun days ahead to get figured out. So please just bear with me. I apologize if I have some emotional days over the next couple weeks and hopefully not months. But anyway, that's what's happening. So tough week, but you know how we do. The MMA Roadshow, we carry on. We don't let some bullshit weigh us down and not have an episode. So anyway, enough about my personal problems, but peeling back the curtain, that's what's going on. So anyway, shitty way to end the podcast, huh? Well, hey, anybody listening that long, I appreciate it. You guys mean the world to me. I say that with all honesty, just as Cold Coffee said earlier, Iced Coffee said earlier, when you guys come up and say, we love it, we listen, that shit means the world. So anyway, listen, we'll be back home next week. Mr. Matt Erickson will be doing the Pittsburgh show. I will not. But me and Cold Coffee will be together. We'll do a show in person. We'll get some better audio going, and we'll just keep this thing moving in the right direction. In the meantime, thanks for listening.